Hello, everyone. My name is Nellie Madrigal, and I will be presenting my PowerPoint presentation on the impact of economic and cultural factors of the United Kingdom on international and global perspectives of HelloFresh. In my presentation, I will explain why I chose the United Kingdom as my country and HelloFresh as my company of choice. I will also go into detail on how I met each of the 4 course objectives by getting my weekly discussions done, my weekly reports, and through my PowerPoint presentations. I will also discuss some challenges that I've had along the way through doing each assignment, and also discuss on how travel could have enhanced my learning experience into meeting all of the course objectives. For the company selection, the company I chose was HelloFresh. One of the reasons why I chose HelloFresh was because they are a meal kit industry leader. I wanted to pick a company that was started as a small company and grew into something global. So this company was started in Berlin, Germany by Dominic Richter, Jessica Nilsson, and Thomas Grissel. They believe that the customer should have access to quality products and in convenience as well. So I wanted to pick a company that was sustainable, that could last through even with the pandemic. So I wanted to look at a company that had decent global growth prior and then after COVID-19. They are also a company it's an industry that's new. So we did have some challenges as far as finding information on that. But since the COVID-19 pandemic, this is going to be a really good industry as far as moving forward with people being able to buy meal kits and groceries online so that they don't have to go to the stores. It's going to be a growing company. Also chose this company because my brother was telling me that in the UK it was really popular, and as when I did some digging, realized that it didn't start in the US, that it started in Germany, because that was a discrepancy that I had. I originally thought that the company started in the US and then went international, but it was really the other way around. So those were a few points of why I picked the company and why I think it's going to be a great industry as far as the future with the pandemic and the way things are going. Sales have boosted and they're going to continue to increase over time. So the reason why I used the United Kingdom as my country selection was because my brother actually lived in the UK while he did his master's, and he was telling me about, the pound and exchange rates, and talking about the Brexit referendum and how the UK's kind of been trying to recover from all of that. So, and also that he knew that HelloFresh was doing well in the country. So it intrigued me, as I wanted something that was different. I didn't want to pick a fast food company or a car company. I wanted to do something that was totally new. Also, because of the popularity of HelloFresh, I know it's really popular in the US. And once I found out the company actually started in Germany, I wanted to see how international and the US, how the sales and everything differ and how they market in the two different territories. Also, I did know a little bit about the pound because I do have some family that's also in London, other family, and I knew a little bit more about the familiarity of the currency and the exchange rates and things like that. So I thought it would help me understand the economy in the UK better, and also, that the language isn't too difficult, so it would be easy for me to find some information and be able to really meet all my course objectives, since I had some familiarity with the currency and the country as well. So that's why I chose the UK as my country selection, and it just happened to match perfectly with my meal kit industry, which was HelloFresh. So the first objective I wanted to make sure I covered was the international and global perspectives of HelloFresh and how the economy and culture of the UK impact it. So even though the UK and the US have similar culture, it makes it a little bit easier for the businesses across both regions to go into either market. But the UK is also known for being one of the most multiracial and diverse populations, which is a lot like the US also, but they do differ a little bit more once you get into the business culture, as management styles are going to be different in the US than the UK because they're more proper and formal in the UK than the US. And the British are good negotiators, but they don't appreciate too much constructive criticism, which is different because in the UK they're not as goal driven as the people in the US. And they're easily offended in the UK. So it's really important for companies to know that when they're going in this region, they're going to have to make connections with people. They're going to have to learn how to network to be able to grow the business in a market that they're not familiar with. So they don't want to just go in and start offending people as they're already making big changes and pushing their business culture on. They want to have respect for the company culture. So that's really important when growing into an international market. Management style also falls in that objective because it's comparing the management styles in the UK versus the US. So they're different because managers in the UK are a little bit more politically correct. They do still collaborate with their employees, and they want them to have all the information and knowledge they need to be able to get their job done. They are a little bit traditional in the UK, which makes it hard for them to see the value of their employees because they like to do things old school. When it comes to communicating, the British want to have more straightforward communication. But like I said in the previous slide, they are a little bit more sensitive. In the UK, they really don't have the job security issues that we have in the US. So because their employees are required to sign a contract, they are not easily terminated. They have to, abide by that contract. In the US, if you're not really performing, you're not meeting your numbers in the corporate world, you're going to be let go. So in the US, they're more driven as far as goals. They have to meet their goals because they always feel that their job's on the line. But in the UK, they have more job security. They're a lot more lax, and their mentality is different as far as getting their work done. Another factor that falls under the objective is the language. So 98% in the UK speak English. Scottish is also pretty popular. It's spoken by 1.5 million people. So communication is really important when going into the international market. So having that many people that speak English is going to be on the US company side. So if a company from the US is trying to grow there or vice versa, it's going to be easier for them because most of the people speak it anyways. Especially being a diverse country, since there's 42 million immigrants in the UK, there's going to be a lot of people that speak English, but there's also other countries as well. So Pakistan and India, and they're really close. So there's going to be a lot of foreign languages as well that are spoken in that area. But for overall, the US's businesses are going to benefit because the language and communication really won't be difficult as far as them networking and try to grow the business, as far as getting local suppliers. Because let's face it, all these companies, they're going to need local companies to help them carry out their jobs. So they're going to have recruit people, they're going to have to train people, and they're going to have to make modifications based off of that region. And it's going to be a lot easier when they're managing multiple regions across the globe, if they're able to communicate and not have to rely on a third party or a consultant that can be able to speak the language. If they're able to just directly connect with their managers in each region and be able to train everyone the way that they want and get the operations off the ground, especially if they're going to do a joint venture or anything like that, it's going to be a lot easier. So in the UK, because they speak English, it's going to be a huge benefit to US companies and vice versa. The economy in the UK also relates to the first course objective. As you can see from the table 1 shown, the gross domestic product has increased since 2017. You can see a significant difference between the GDP in 2017 and 2018, and then 2018 and 2019, the numbers are pretty similar, but it still shows a gradual increase. The United Kingdom is ranked fifth worldwide at 2.8 trillion for their gross domestic product. It's important for companies to know the gross domestic product of the international region that they are planning to grow into, because it shows like an estimate of the overall health of the country. So they need to be able to see what industries are the strongest producers in that region. Even though GDP does not account for everything, not all of the output is included, because some things aren't as easy to measure, but companies will get a basic idea of the rise or slow decline of the country. It'll kind of pretty much tell them the overall health. It'll also show how much production the country is putting out and how much the population is actually getting from it, how much they're actually consuming from it. And then how much income is being generated. So companies want to know, is my company going to do well in this region based off of the industry? What industries are strong in this country, and will my company fall under the strong industry category to help with the growth, to get me where I want to get? So GDP is extremely important and relates to the objective, and was covered in the paper as far as showing the overall health of the UK and how it's been since 2017 to 2019. Also showed that the country was doing not so great before COVID-19. And also after COVID-19, yes, they did have some unemployment issues, but the country was also kind of struggling a little bit due to the Brexit referendum as well. So since 1975, unemployment rate has been the lowest it's ever been. From January to April of 2020, since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, unemployment has risen by 4%. So before the COVID-19 pandemic, there was only 58,000 people who didn't have a job. Then April 2020 hit, and now we have over 1 million people in the UK that don't have a job. So there are some concerns that unemployment can go from 1 mil to 6 million if the virus continues and people continue to get furloughed and businesses continue to close. 30% of jobs in the UK come from hotels and transportation and restaurants. So all of these things have been directly impacted by the virus, which is why they've had a huge spike in unemployment. But the government can't exceed £2,500 a month to support the income of employees that were furloughed. So that's the max government assist. HelloFresh itself hasn't completely been negatively impacted by the pandemic, but the UK as a country has, which can hurt certain industries as well. So this falls under the objective of how the country is dealing with a pandemic and how the economy is affecting industries, especially international businesses that are growing The second objective was how the country's culture impacts international business. So I chose to cover marketing. So the impact on British culture on HelloFresh's marketing affects them as far as television advertising and social media. Those were the two marketing channels that I researched. Even though HelloFresh's target market in the UK and the US is the same, right? They still target 30 to 50-year-old women. They advertise differently. So watching the television ad for HelloFresh UK was different as it showed more of a bonding experience. As you can see in the picture below, she was having a great time with her significant other. He was being goofy. It just showed that, even though they're still ordering a box that has a lot of packaged things, that there really wasn't that much waste. Very no stress, for a busy lifestyle. So it was more of socially gathering. They sat at the table, fun. Also, same thing with their social media, family-oriented posts that weren't just related to HelloFresh, but also they had like tips and tricks and crafts and just wine pairings with different meals, just to keep consumers engaged. Compared to the advertisement as far as the commercial for HelloFresh US, which was more of a single mom just trying to make a healthy meal for her kid. And there was a lot of videos. Seems with more of HelloFresh US, they use a lot of videos, even on their websites, videos to keep consumers engaged, showing how quick and easy the meal is to make and how very low stress it is, but it didn't really show that bonding experience. I mean, they did have the mom sitting at the table with her two daughters, but it wasn't the same as far as the UK. You could tell it was more of just trying to get the job done for the US commercial, and the UK was more of like, it's an experience, it's a journey, it's not boring, it's not your average meal time where you're just prepping and it's a chore. So I chose this as far as proving that I was able to understand that different regions, different cultures affect the international business process different. And as far as Objective 3 for the course had to deal with business opportunities for the international business, threats, and risks that the company would have to take on or may take on in the future. So we'll start off with the HelloFresh's business opportunities. According to the HelloFresh annual report, consumers spend most of their money on food, which is in itself an opportunity, right? So demand for healthy meals now, it's a trend, it's going up. Convenient meals is on the rise, and HelloFresh offers its consumers personalized meal kits that contain ingredients from their local suppliers. People are looking for food that's healthy, that's easy, that's right from their backyard, and HelloFresh has a lot of opportunity as far as growth, especially because of the trend of health and everybody going on all these different fad diets and everything. It's going to give them a lot of opportunity for the future. They're also an efficient delivery service. They package them to order. Now with the COVID-19 pandemic, people don't want to go to the grocery store. They don't want to go and risk and shop and just be wasteful as far as gas. And it's just too much of a hassle for some people. It's worth it for them to just spend the extra money, get a whole bunch of meal kits, not have to pay shipping when they're in the US, which is awesome. And it just has an increased demand since the pandemic, which is going to bring in more opportunities. We don't really know what's going to happen with the virus in the future. You know, things could get better, things could get worse, but we're at a new norm right now. So it's opening up new doors. And HelloFresh is also coming up with innovative ideas. They want to add some different add-ons, maybe different bigger portions, of course, for the US, which is different from the UK, because in the UK, they're used to eating smaller portions, but you'll be able to have different add-ons, which is great, such as the larger portions, gourmet options, and specialty sides. So they're coming up with these different creative ways that they can get consumers to continue to purchase from them, because they do make a lot of money off of new consumers, but they really need brand loyal consumers to keep their company sustainable. So this is the business opportunities for HelloFresh and how it relates to the third objective of the course. The aging population in the UK is a concern, and it falls under implications for international business in the UK as far as Objective 3 as well. So this is the second factor that falls under Objective 3. So there are almost 12 million people in the country who are older than 65. So since 2005, the percentage of the elderly has increased by 85%, which is huge. This makes it hard for companies to be able to, especially in certain industries, as far as technology, construction, things like that, it limits the talent when they grow internationally and they need to recruit, right? So if they need to have people working in factories and businesses and things like that, they need to be able to have talent. And mostly for certain industries, they're going to need young people, right? And it's not only just in the recruiting for as far as the work, they need workers, right? It also limits their target market. So if there's a ton of people who are 65 or older in the UK, but HelloFresh is targeting 30 to 50-year-olds as their target market. That's going to be a problem for them. So aging population is definitely one of the concerns for Objective 3. And then we're going to go into another concern that also falls under this objective. So along with the aging population, income inequality is also a problem in the UK, which can affect international businesses. So as you can see in the table below, income inequality in the UK is very high, right? There's a big difference in disposable income from the wealthiest to the poorest in the UK. So since 2013, the median income has risen by an average of 2.2%. This is because the increase in the average income of the wealthiest has risen by 4.7%. But compared to the poor, they only saw an increase of 1.6%. So it's important for companies to know that because they get to see who their target market is in the region and and how they would be the most profitable for them, right? Which region. So if they decide they want to move in the UK, they need to figure out where in the UK they want to be placed, the company, right? Because some areas may not be so great because if they don't really make a whole lot of money, right, and you're selling a really expensive product, you're not going to have a great amount of sales. So you want to go in a region where the income is somewhere where their disposable income is somewhere where you know they're going to purchase from you. They're going to be able to afford to. They're going to want to. And yes, HelloFresh has it on their side that most people want to spend their money on food, but you want to be able to be strategically placed where your suppliers will be able to get to you, where you will also be able to reach more of your target market and keep consumers engaged that can afford your product, right? So in the southwest region of the UK, they have double of the wealth than the north. So that's probably going to be their best places to be, right? And this is important because companies want to know what are the most profitable regions. Where am I going to go that's going to bring me the most return? So they want to be smart about it. It's not just like, okay, I want to grow global and I'm going to go to the UK. No, where in the UK are you going to be put? Okay, if I'm going to go to the south because I know my product is a little bit more expensive, where am I going to place my suppliers to make it the more efficient route that I can be able to save money, have the least amount of cost, and also still produce for my target market? So income inequality also falls under Objective 3, and it goes hand in hand with aging population as far as a concern for businesses in the UK. I put the UK's regulations under Objective 3 because they're a lot different than the US regulations, and it's something that HelloFresh would have had to have looked into before moving into the region and making sure they follow these regulations, which could be a little bit risky for an international business because if they don't do it right, they don't have the right connections and networking, they can, lose a lot of money in fines and fees and all of that. So I classified it under it. So in 2018, the UK is ranked #1 for foreign investment in Europe, which is awesome. The estimated number of foreign projects in the UK is 1,054. So that's quite a bit of international businesses that are in that region. So another thing that's really good for US companies that are wanting to move into the region is there's a lot that's similar between the UK and the US. So they don't really have different rules for foreign companies wanting to come into the UK. When it comes to joint ventures, asset and share purchases and takeover bids, the rules are the same for foreign and domestic companies. So if they're, say HelloFresh wanted to merge with a local supplier and do a joint venture to get their feet wet and learn more about the country itself and the connections and learn more about the networking, they won't really have to deal with different rules. They're the same rules for the US and the UK. Also, this is enticing for foreign businesses because if they're not really familiar with the region and they really want to have international growth without having too much of a risk, it makes the UK an easier transition as far as to grow global than some other countries where it would be more challenging. So this will fall under Objective 3 as far as international businesses need to look into the regulations of the country, and this pretty much just tells you that the UK is a lot more of an easier transition than other countries that would have more stricter regulations and be a lot different than the US. The UK's regulatory requirements also fall under Objective 3. They are more strict with their food packaging and labeling and where their food comes from than the US. The US is still required to list and label and follow certain packaging under FDA, but the UK is a lot more strict. So the companies need to list best before dates and any warnings on all their packaging. They also, if they have more than one ingredient in their product, they have to list them all. They also have to have the name and location of where their factory is, where they're producing it, also located on their packaging as well. And if they have special instructions as far as how you're supposed to store the product, how you're supposed to prepare it, they also need to be listed as well. All spices and herbs that run larger than 5 ml or 5 grams must list the measurements also on their packaging. So they're pretty detailed and strict on how they want their consumers to know where their food is coming from. If they're imported foods, they have to show the country or where the region that they're coming from is located. They want you to know where the packaging facility is. They want their consumers to be able to know everything about the product that they're buying. So pretty much different, a little bit different than the US. The regulatory requirements for the UK are I wanted to cover tariffs in the UK because I just think they're interesting. So the UK places higher tariffs on imports, on imported foods and products. So I put two countries there and showed a percentage of what the tariffs look like. So New Zealand imports honey at 17% and Brazil imports grapes at 15%. And with the Brexit tariff plan, the government is wanting to get rid of these tariffs. They just want to make it easier, right, for imports. So farmers and the UK population's kind of worried about this because they like to keep their standards high. So they feel like, well, if people aren't going to be paying these tariffs, these companies are going to be paying these tariffs, then they're most likely going to lose a lot of the food quality, also how they take care of their meats and poultry and seafood, and how the well-being of their animals are going to be. They're worried about a decline in that as well. So I just thought this was interesting. I wanted to cover it because it does affect the packaged food industry as well, because farmers are kind of worried that So the threats and industry rivalry also fall under Objective 3. And I wanted to show that I did gain the understanding of that objective by showing that grocery stores can also be a threat to the meal kit industry. So because in the grocery stores now they're starting to carry these meal kits, and they also offer online delivery, pickup, and all of that, not only is the meal kit industry competing within itself, but it's also competing with local grocery stores. Also, the bargaining power of buyers are high. So what that means is there's not a whole lot of leeway as far as the meal kit costs. They're all pretty close as far as the competitors. So companies really have to push coupons and things like that. There's not a whole lot they can play with as far as the cost, making it more affordable, especially with HelloFresh because they like to keep their quality high. Also, it's kind of risky doing that because they also don't have high switching fees. So it doesn't cost the consumer anything to switch and say, hey, I'm going to go to Blue Apron for a month because they're going to give me $60 off 3 meals. So also with the subscription trend, there's a lot of consumers that like to hop through, just like through, subscriptions as far as Netflix and everything. They don't really cost you anything to opt out. So consumers are just going to want to go for the best deal, which is also a threat and keeps them constantly on their toes to keep their consumers choosing them and becoming more brand loyal. Also, the reliance on their suppliers for quality is a huge threat because they have to constantly be on their suppliers for the quality and efficiency to continue to make their consumers happy. So especially with an international company that's global, it's hard for them to monitor all their suppliers in all the different regions. So especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, these suppliers and third-party suppliers have a lot of risk as far as they need to make sure that these factories, the suppliers, the farmers are all doing, sanitizing, keeping their stations clean, so that way their food and meal kits aren't contaminated. So those are some of the industry rivalry and threats that relate to HelloFresh in the UK and how it relates to the understanding of Objective 3. So I did encounter a few challenges throughout the semester within making my reports and PowerPoints and things like that. The revenue retrieval for the industry analysis paper took me a really long time. I did also have to reach out to Dr. Eberly for some help on that one because I didn't want to just show the competitors in the US or in the UK. I kind of wanted an overall number, and you can't really take bits and pieces from different websites because it's not going to be cohesive as far as to show where the rankings are. So I just wanted to find it on one website, and I was able to finally get that and make my table with it. And I also struggled with the question on how do you improve Blue Apron, which is one of HelloFresh's competitors' US website. That website was great. I loved it. The US websites are just way better than the foreign websites to me. I think they just have a lot more interesting facts on there. They promote themselves well, they market. I'm able to, maybe it's because I am American, right? And that's just what I'm looking for. So I just wanted to show you in the picture here, it shows you how great the Blue Apron's website is. Like you can literally pick how many people are in your household and it tells you the overall cost. Like that to me is great. And then it shows you the bars at the top, the menu, the pricing, their market, their wine subscription. But even in the beginning of the website with the video, it was just very interactive and it was just really nice. So I know I put something about, well, they should have had like more language options, which you don't really see that on US websites. That was my only critique because the website was that good. So improving US websites is something I could use a little bit more direction on, as far as I tried to pick it apart, but it was really great. So I really couldn't even pick it apart. So those were a couple of the challenges that I faced throughout the semester. Enhancing international experience and appreciating cultural diversity. I was able to achieve that even though we didn't go on our international business trip. We still had a lot of interaction with our colleagues, with our professors, and our research to be able to meet that objective. So I was able to learn about not just the UK and the country that I picked, but the countries that my colleagues picked and companies that they picked in through their weekly discussions. So I was able to see their perspectives we didn't have like a stigma on our company just because we picked this company, it was the best company. No, they were able to pick their companies apart, talk about ethical issues they had with their companies. And the instructors also helped broaden the knowledge on not only the company, but the country as well. So they would post questions for us. So we'd have to go back out and dig to be able to broaden the knowledge on not only our company and country, but also our colleagues as well. So we were able to get a lot more out of it. If we would have went on the trip to Spain, we would have learned about different companies in Spain, but we wouldn't have learned about the different countries. We would have pretty much picked, different cities in Spain and things like that. So this was really cool that we were able to add that to it and have the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, it's not the best situation, but it helps us be able to see how countries are doing and companies are doing in a crisis like this. So I also learned a lot about international business through the required research as far as doing my weekly reports and PowerPoint presentations. We still were required to do, a walkthrough map, picking the places that we would pick to visit, just not actually really visiting them, but still doing them virtually, and also virtually visiting our company in that country. So based off of how we were able to meet that objective, it was through our weekly discussions, PowerPoint presentations, and also our research that was required for our reports. I hope you enjoyed my presentation on the impact of economic and cultural factors of the United Kingdom on international and global perspectives of HelloFresh. I hope you were able to see that I was able to meet the 4 course objectives as far as understanding business opportunities for HelloFresh for the future and threats as far as their weaknesses and challenges of staying as the industry leader in the meal kit industry, and problems such as the aging population in the UK and differences between the country culture in the UK versus the US and management styles across both regions. And I also hope you were able to see how the country's culture affects their marketing stance, how they market differently in the UK than the US, and how this course has enhanced my international experience and appreciation of a multiracial country such as the United United Kingdom and has made me more aware of what companies need to know about the different regions and how they need to make modifications to be able to grow in the international market. I hope you have a great rest of your day.